Record. Good afternoon or evening. Today we are going to talk about heroin. Heroin is a painkiller that is essentially killing people. How much do you actually really know about it? I personally have worked in substance abuse for many years. I've worked from detox to recovery. I've seen mothers, sisters, brothers, friends all struggle with this horrible drug. It's not generally the first drug that people turn to, but it's eventually the drug that wreaks havoc on people's lives. Today, me, Sean, and Brandon are going to talk about how it is affecting people, what it's made of, and what the impact on people actually is. To start us off, Sean is going to begin by introducing what heroin is and where it originates from and how it is used.
Hello. Have you heard of heroin? Do you know what it is, where it comes from, and how it is used? This is an absolutely devastating drug that is so common it could possibly affect us all at any given time. It ends careers, cripples families, and oftentimes leads to death. This drug is highly addictive and it's a pandemic in and of itself that's been going on for a long time and been very hard for us to control as a society. For my portion, I'm going to focus mainly on what heroin exactly is, where it originates from, and how people use it. So, heroin is derived primarily from morphine. That's its main ingredient. It comes in three main forms: white powder, brownish powder, and in its most crude form, black tar. Um, as I said, the primary ingredient is morphine, and it's cut with many different things. Generally, it's cut with whatever the dealer has on hand, and their goal is to make money. So they're going to cut it with cheaper stuff to increase their profit margin. You can find something benign in there, such as talc powder, flour, cornstarch, powdered milk, or something more sinister like fentanyl or any other drugs like oxycodone, tramadol, or something like that. Uh, the more pure the heroin, the whiter it is. The more cut with just random stuff, the less it's more of a brownish, whitish powder at that point. Sometimes the black tar is cut with shoe polish and soil in some cases. It primarily originates from warm climates such as Southwest Asia, Southeast Asia, Mexico, and South America. Currently, Colombia is the number one importer into the United States. Mexico plays a big part on the trafficking side of things, but again, Colombia supplies most of it to the United States. Then once it gets over across the border, it gets distributed to everywhere across America. All 50 states are subject to it. You can find heroin in any town in the United States. And how people use it, there's several different ways. It can be smoked, it can be snorted, or it can be injected. And injected in when they heat up the powder, it gets into a liquid form. They then take that liquid form, put it in the needle, and inject it directly into their bloodstream. Something I found out through this is not everybody starts out just going with the needle. A lot of people just want to experiment with it and think it's going to be a little less chance they get hooked on it if they smoke it, like free basic kind of thing up front, but they get addicted to that high and they want to increase their high, so they almost always end up going with the needles. And then that's their most increased high that's out there. So now that you know what it is, where it comes from, and how it is used, you got to take that knowledge, share it with other people, so then all of us can continue to fight this and hopefully one day win this battle. Thank you.
Now that Sean has covered what morphine is, oh Jesus, what heroin is and where it comes from the poppy seed plant. Brandon is going to tell us about how it impacts people and what some of the demographics are.
All right, hi. So my name is Brandon Forsyth, and just like Shay said, I'll be talking about a bunch of demographics and stats and stuff. So buckle up. Well, heroin has been on a constant rise in the US, and it's a pandemic. Through and through, it is sweeping the nation. Myself, along with so many other people, have experienced this firsthand. Family members, friends, people that are close to heroin users. Uh, in 2016, my uncle overdosed on heroin, and that night when we got the news, the amount of sheer distraught and horror was giant. Even though even though people do heroin all their life, they don't understand the dangers of it. So in my speech, I'm going to be talking about a gender split between male and females, how many males versus how many females do heroin, where in the US heroin is mostly used, and what kind of people are mostly affected. So first, according to the CDC, from 2004 to 2013, heroin cases spiked. This could have been because in 2008 there was a major stock market crash, and when people are depressed, they turn to something that will make them happy, like drugs, because heroin is an antidepressant. In 2004, males made up about 2.4% of the population of the US who were addicted to heroin. And in 2013, that number was up about 50% to 3.6%. In 2004, females, on the other hand, made up about 0.8% of the population, but in 2013, that number doubled to 1.6%. Now, to put that into perspective, that's still about 5 million people who are addicted to heroin. The females, how many females are addicted to heroin? Next, heroin is prominent in mostly non-Hispanic, rich, upper white class neighborhoods. This has led to heroin being coined a quote-unquote rich drug. What this also means is that people who use heroin are typically in the 10% to 1% to 0.1% tax brackets. Finally, many more people are getting their hands on heroin, and it's led to a bunch of misuse. A lot more people are getting their hands on heroin because the people that are manufacturing the heroin are able to lace that stuff with cheaper material to sell it and to produce it in higher oh geez, what's the word? Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Higher quantities. In 2018, for example, 15,000 people died, and this isn't counting people who were resuscitated using Narcan or any of the other drugs that the emergency medical services can use to bring people back from overdosages. Heroin, again, is an epidemic, and the news doesn't cover it anymore. I remember a couple of years ago, every headline every night was heroin striking the country, but now you don't see that anymore. And people are getting ignorant. On the bright side, very recently it has gotten a lot better. In 2017, the users numbered 2.8 million only. That's both male and female. And in 2018, the users numbered only about 2.6 million, both male and female. Those are the demographics, and I'm going to hand it back to Shay so she can continue. Thank you for listening.
So, in conclusion, whether you view heroin as an epidemic or a pandemic, it is a very large problem that is still ravaging our nation as we speak. Brandon and Sean both covered some really good points that heroin is derived from a morphine plant. The poppy seed plant is derived from morphine, and that it's transformed into something that tears apart people's lives, which is very unfortunate. And 5.6 million people in the United States are struggling with this, and it eventually leads to overdose, or can lead to overdose. But in the meantime, their lives are being destroyed, the lives of their loved ones. Now that we've all touched base on it, please keep in mind that there are places out there, treatment centers, doctors, people that are willing to help. As Brandon covered, there's Narcan that is available at your local pharmacy that you can pick up. A lot of places even give it out for free. In Fairbanks, it is Interior AIDS. They give out free kits. If you know someone or care about someone who is struggling with this, that is somewhere you can go. And I hope you have a good evening. Thank you for listening to our speech.